Hey everybody, what is up? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're gonna be looking at one of Arteezy's item builds. I kind of want to just go over item by item why he purchases it based upon his game state, and of course, his teammates, and most importantly, the enemy matchups. So if you want to learn more about items, especially in the carry role, this video will hopefully help you a lot with that. But nonetheless, if you are excited, smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and let's get into it. And I want to let you guys know that I just made about a 20-minute replay analysis on a mid-Slark game I played where I talk about creating space and how to push your limits to basically the furthest point that you can so that you become a better and more risky player. Because most players, when they gank and try to make plays, I don't know, they either don't do anything or go to the wrong part of the map and end up griefing their team. So that video will help you correct those mistakes, and let's get into it. Alright, let's start with starting items. So as we get into the laning stage, we know that he is with a Clockwork, right? Hero that doesn't do too much at level 1. Battery Assault it's a strong spell, but they gotta be off the creep wave, so in all reality, against a Mars line, there's basically almost nothing Flying can do early on into the lane, besides try to solo zone out the line, which maybe he can do. Oh, I guess the line isn't actually here right now. Besides the point, Arteezy is starting off with very low regen. You'll see he has one set of tangos, Quelling Fairy, 2 branches, and a stick. Now why is this? Well, the lane that he's against just casts a lot of spells. Lion casts his spell basically off cooldown, and Mars does almost the same, and so it kind of makes a lot of sense, especially against Mars. Like, I see pros all the time when they play against Mars buying stick, because Mars is really good at trading early on. God's Rebuke is just like nutty, and so basically you buy a stick and you just try to play this like overall sustain game with, yeah, a stick. Also, keep in mind he did ship out more tangos, so he definitely does not plan on laning a Lion Mars lane with one set of tangos and that's it. I also would imagine that Fly has a salve, and what do you know, he does. So when you're playing, a squishy agi carry against this type of lane, a high pressure lane, it is good to start with the stick, right? Especially if it's heroes like Mars and Lion who cast a lot of spells. And then most importantly, you need to make sure that either you buy a salve, or more optimally, that your support buys a salve. Alright, so next we're going to talk about what he does after. So he actually buys a wand into boots, and they might be seeing like Wino Wraithband. There's a couple of reasons for this. You guys have probably noticed this trend has been going on for a while, where Wraithband has just kind of fallen out of the meta, has become much less popular, and there's a couple of reasons to that. I mean, really the main one is that like the armor, especially on most agi carries, is like mildly useless. For instance, on a hero like TB, you have 11 base. I mean, with this wand and Under Tower, he has even +3, right? And so he has 14 armor. You don't need Wraithband armor. You don't need it against creeps. You don't need it almost at all. And so maybe with like a lower armor agi carry, maybe like Slark, it makes a lot more sense because obviously the attack speed is a lot better. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't buy it on TB. On top of that, it hardcore clogs your slots and it delays your Dragonlance timing. And Dragonlance, it is really good stats, right? So Dragonlance is 12 agi and 16 strength for 1900 gold. Wraithbands, just for a little bit of comparison, do give a lot of agi, so they're good in terms of agi. They give 5 agi and 2 strength. But yeah, it's not a good strength. The main thing you get out of Wraithbands is really the attack speed is decent. You get 10 in total with the agi. But the strength is quite embarrassing, right, per gold. Oh, I mixed it up. I'm sorry. Dragonlance is 16 agi and 12 strength. And so you get, what, like 3 less agi or 4 less agi from a Dragonlance, and then much more strength for the cost. And obviously you could say, oh, but you could buy basically 4 Wraithbands for the same cost of a Dragonlance, but of course you can't actually fit that in your inventory. That's insane. And so I do think there's some legitimacy to actually buying one Wraithband still. I think pros are like maybe slightly underrating Wraithbands just based on the stats, but honestly, I'm a huge fan of items like Raindrops, which we'll be buying, especially in a game like this where the enemy team has so many nukes. I think Windlace is just a great item as well that can replace Wraithband, gets you from camp to camp faster, it's good for positioning in fights, etc, etc. And so, yeah, a lot of people are just skipping Wraithbands, and honestly, I've played a couple of games where I do the same. It feels good. I definitely think it's legit. And on top of that, Gloves of Haste are really good as a Wraithband replacement. They don't make you as tanky because you lose out on basically 2 armor and a little bit of strength, but the thing is, like, sometimes offense is the best defense, and obviously there's the opposite saying as well, but offense really can be the best defense. On a hero like TERRORBLADE, when you're meta'd, if you have this really high attack speed, you become nutty in how much damage you do, and then you don't really have to worry about being gone on because you're too much of a threat. Gloves of Haste, they give you 20 attack speed, right? And Wraithband gives you 10, and so there is a pretty big difference in terms of overall DPS output especially on a hero like TERRORBLADE, it's also 50 less gold. And for even more perspective, treads are probably just busted in a lot of ways. Really, treads are pretty nuts. Obviously, you get boots, and then you get 25 attack speed. 25. Like, that is crazy in itself. It's just 5 extra from the gloves, obviously. And then 10 selected attributes. So you just get this, like, mega spike. Because when you're on Agi, you get 10 more attack speed as well. So treads are this huge spike on these Agi cores. Considering illusion cores get the attack speed now as well from treads. In the past they didn't, now they do. And so in particular, treads are really good on heroes like Luna and TERRORBLADE, who just really thrive off this attack speed, and even a hero like Naga, you know, with the illusions. Now moving on, I'm not going to be going over too much gameplay, that's not the purpose of today's video. But I just want to say that once his lane gets hard, I always like repeating this, but once his lane gets hard, he's off into the jungle, you know? It's just something you see people struggle with all the time. It's like, they have a good start, right? He has 64 CS in 10 minutes. My man is killing. He's killing it. Hasn't actually killed anyone, but he's killing it. And the thing is, look at the enemy team. Do they kill TERRORBLADE, yes or no? Yes, they slaughter TERRORBLADE. If AA takes the tome, I don't know if he will or not, because Lion actually kind of needs it. He's level 4, but let's assume this line would hit 6 off of this. One spear, right? One arena spear, and any ultimate kills him. Honestly, one arena spear with like a follow-up stun might kill him. And so I just love this adaptation. I think it's really important to adjust and think about your hero and your hero's weaknesses, you know, in comparison to what they do against the enemy team. Now, technically, if he was to buy like a hood, which would not be good because he wouldn't farm fast, but if he was to buy a hood, maybe then he could lane. I'm not saying buy a hood on TERRORBLADE and try to lane, guys. I'm just trying to say, like, make sure that your builds also align with your play. You know, he's rushing Dragonlance, which is a good item, but it's particularly good when you finish it because it gives you 2 extra strength for what you buy, and then bans are what, 6 gold, right? So the bans are 6 agi. Then when you finish Dragonlance, it gives you 16, so you get 4 extra agi and 2 extra strength and the attack range, which is like crazy good value on TERRORBLADE for early game fighting, right? Dragonlance is like bar none the best early game skirmishing item that TERRORBLADE can have. And so make sure, like, you'll see, and I love this adjustment if we do see it in Arteezy's gameplay here, that these players, they won't even consider fighting, or like they won't bother showing up to a fight until they have at least Dragonlance. And Dota's a game of exceptions. I say this a lot. It's a game of exceptions. You'll see people show up to fights with just a ban of Elven skin, but for the most part, you want to keep your gameplay linear when you're trying to gain MMR, because you need to understand, right, and kind of just stick to what your hero does well and when they do it well. And talking about the whole Dragonlance thingy, I like this clip here. He has his Dragonlance, which is kind of what we talked about. It's the strong timing. He pops meta on Intreads because your hero has like no mana, summons his illusion, and now look what he does. He starts to act like he's, I don't know, like a storm spirit. He starts posturing really aggressive, even pinging the enemy jungle, looking to kick them out of it. Pretty odd, right? Like, they're making like mid lane plays, he's working with his teammates, and yeah, it's just good. Also keep in mind that he's not like sieging a tower when the enemy team can defend. You know what I mean? If the enemy team in this game, like, were all alive and it's just some casual 5v5 and he's sieging, it'd probably be bad because he's just gonna get arena'd into an AA blast and just insta-die. Key here is that when he pushed mid like that, the AA was already dead, the enemy team couldn't set up, and then even when they push out to mid there and invade this jungle, the enemy team is also not set up, and it sort of snowballs, right? They get one pick off, that pick off transitions into another, and it becomes a snowball effect. And so that whole set of plays made so much sense and was so clean by Arteezy, especially based on his item timing. Next, he bought a Yasha. I'm not gonna talk about why that's good. If you don't know why Yasha's good on Agi cores, you should just read the item. Just read the item. Next is the biggest variation in item builds that Arteezy goes here. And I know it's not like some game-breaking thing. He bought a Sanch and Yasha. It's still arguably one of the best items in the game. But it's TERRORBLADE. I'd actually like to talk about this on Luna too, just because that hero's pretty popular right now. So, Sanch and Yasha over Manta. Why? There's plenty of other videos about this. I think I just want to go over it briefly again. Even like, because I do have a pretty strong opinion. Yeah, even on Luna, I'm really anti not going Manta personally. Like, I've seen pros go Sanch and Yasha. I've seen pub players go Sanch and Yasha on Luna. I'm just very against it because you just completely limit your ability to farm. Like, you farm so much slower. It's not even close. Mantas amp your farm by, I don't know, probably like 20-30%. I don't have the actual numbers. I'm You know, I don't know, but it's nuts. It is nuts how much it makes you farm, and like, especially if you end up falling behind, Manta is so good for just being able to draw out the game. So on that note, I think Assange and Yasha, in my opinion, is particularly good when you're ahead and you know the enemy team has a lot of burst, okay? So like this is really where I think it's important to know. If you're behind and you buy Assange and Yasha, it kind of like means that you want to fight, because it's a better fighting item than Manta early into the game, because most of the time Mantas, I mean, the damage is like mildly underwhelming and they die too fast. Right, one AA blast basically one-shots TB Mantas, and so it makes sense to not buy them in a game like this. Even God's Rebuke will basically insta-kill the Mantas, and so it's a good game not to go Manta for fighting here. The enemy team, basically every hero has some way to kill illusions. Like, yeah, there's things to purge, Cold Snap, Cold Feet, but really those are, I don't know, it's not even that bad, right? It's pretty hard for those heroes. It's really hard for AA to Cold Feet him in the fight. And like Cold Snap, I guess, it's not really the end of the world. And so, basically, I like the Assange and Yasha here. And you'll see, once he gets it, he starts skirmishing, right? He starts to take these fights. This fight actually ended up being really bad. But, you get the point. Assange and Yasha lets you fight. It's a better early game skirmish item. It's just much worse for farming and shoving lanes. And so that's why in pubs, if you get good at using Manta, I just think it's the superior item by quite a long shot, because people don't know how to deal with split pushing in pubs, guys. If you're like 2, 3, 4, 5 KMR, I mean, I literally just played a game and my Smurf's like 6.7k, where I played Axe, my team was like tilting out of their mind, I was tilting too, like it's just a bad game, like people are just flaming each other for no reason, not no reason, but like horrible reasons. It was awful. I decided that, okay, I'm just gonna split push, like back to my roots of like the main way I gain MMR, which is just like being really, really good at split pushing and like not dying. And that's what I did for like, maybe I'll do a replay analysis on the game, but like I just did that for 15-20 minutes. I just split the map. The enemy team just like didn't shut me down. My team still did fine. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had so many items and just carried. And so for Manta, it just makes it 10 times easier, right? And once I got Manta on that Axe game, oh my god. I was just cutting 2 lanes at the same time, griefing my carry, making sure my carry had no game. You know, the typical stuff. But yeah, that's the distinction I would make. So next up, as we see the next big fight in the game, I'll just let it play out in the background. What we see here is that he buys a Skadi. Now, the reason why you want Skadi this game is it's a good Skadi game. Quite a few ranged heroes. Sven buys lifesteal. Morris often buys Vlad. He doesn't have it this game, so I wouldn't say Skadi or even Sven doesn't buy lifesteal, so it doesn't really counter these two heroes in that regard. But I think the main reason is really he just wants to not get bursted. And Skadi gives a lot of HP. Right, gives 25 all attributes, which is 500 health, and 200 extra, so you get 700 HP. In contrast, just for a little bit of perspective, Satanic gives 25 strength, so does 500 HP, so you get 200 less HP. Now, of course, you might be saying, oh, speed, surely that's not the difference between dying or not. Most of the time, it's probably not, but against a hero like AA, it could be, right? Against AA, absolutely. Could be the difference between getting Sunder off or not. And yeah, against AA, it's really hard to even use Satanic. So there's that. And you might be saying, why doesn't he buy a heart? Well, he still wants to do damage. Obviously, Skadi does a lot more damage and prevents them from running away from you, so it's a much higher DPS item. And you don't get the regen from heart if you're AA blasted. So yes, heart would definitely be the best HP item. And honestly, I could even see him buying it this game. It's a bit psycho. That's a bit of theory crafting. I don't know. How much is heart? 5,100? What's Skadi? 53? Okay. Okay, Skadi, to be fair, is the most expensive of the 3 items. Freaking Skadi. But, yeah, I think it's good. It also lets you man up the Sven, right? Sven is a hero that typically doesn't buy too much attack speed. He buys Echo Saber. It's like his attack speed, you know? And so Skadi just makes sense here. When the Echo Saber's on cooldown, if he's Skadi slowed, then he'll have practically no attack speed. So there is value there, too. And one more thing to say about Skadi on TB that I actually even just realized while watching his gameplay is that if you get kited out, so like, the enemy team just kited out his meta really well. No Ping just completely kited TV meta. It's the biggest weakness of this hero. The fact that, you know, meta, it's actually so hard to manage correctly because it's a 50-second duration and a 155-second cooldown, which means you don't have it for like, what, 60% of the time? It's really rough. It's really rough to manage. And that's sort of what happens. So if you don't have Skadi on TB and you're melee, you can't kill anybody. Like Skadi, I mean, like Satanic or Heart TV just can't kill anybody. So in particular for that reason, I definitely like the Skadi, especially on a hero like TERRORBLADE, who can get kited really easily when his ulti is down, right? Well, his second ulti. And last but finally, and not least, he queues up the butterfly. It's just a good game for that, especially with manning up to the Sven. Sven is not an MKB hero. Sven can be, but in particular, Arteezy definitely clicked on him because, you know, he's Arteezy. He probably clicked on the Sven and said, oh, he bought a Daedalus. That means he can't have an MKB for at least a while, right? It's a good recognition play. You can be like, okay, I can buy Butterfly because they don't have MKBs, which it's not that, like, MKB immediately makes Butterfly useless. It's still really just good DPS. Right now, he kind of lacks, like, a hard DPS item. Butterfly is just kind of one of those items. It's really good DPS, right? 30 attack speed, 30 agi, which is 60 attack speed, and then 55 damage because you're getting damage from the agi, obviously. And so it is by far the highest DPS item, like for like the 5k gold range. That also makes you tanky. And so when you're playing TB, you want to be tanky. And obviously Sven actually can kill him. Sven does enough damage to kill TB. Really, it's one of those heroes that, even with right clicks, can kill TB. And so I love the butterfly here. I think it makes a ton of sense to get a big mix of DPS, which he kind of lacks, and have a bit of a counter to the Sven. And last, but certainly not least, is the item I cannot explain to you. I have no clue why he buys it. I do not know. I do not know. Guys, I wish I knew. I do not know. Let's read Abyssal Blade. It's odd. One thing I will say is that his meta has been getting kited. Not that the enemy team really even has the best kite. They don't. Invoker's good, I guess. Really good at kiting TB actually late game because of Tornado and Deafening Blast, but I guess it just makes him better in melee form. Like, just because the bash chance and range form is just so bad. What is it, 10%? 10%? What a 10%? You have to attack 10 times to bash someone. Like, that's awful. That's awful. That's how many times it takes to kill most heroes. Like, I don't know. Like, it's 6,300 gold. It's like 1,000 more gold, 1,300 more gold than Satanic. I just don't get it. I mean, it is good HP. It gives like 300 and... Actually, no, it's not even that good of HP. I don't know, guys. I really don't know. I think it's just like, in case he's in melee form. I guess the Abyssal Blade's pretty value against Sven. As I said, Sven actually does need to go on TB this game. The other heroes maybe do enough if they really get to like... If they get to Line Finger, AA Blast... Like, if they hit every disable before he gets off anything, then, yeah, I can see them bursting him. But the Sven actually does have to kill him, assuming that none of Arteezy's teammates go in. Like, he literally has 3 initiators. If none of them go in, then maybe they could do that, but it's highly unlikely. I'm just gonna say, I really feel like he probably should just buy BKB here. It seems like the most safe to me, but hey, he's Arteezy. Let's watch the gameplay and see what he does. Alright, this clip here, alright, never mind, I'm sold, guys. Look at how good this is. Oh my god. Would he have killed Sven without the basher here? Probably, but it doesn't matter. He bashes him as a ranged hero. Definitely would have killed him regardless of the basher, but hey. Nice. You know, I don't even know what to say. You know what? I'm just gonna say from now on I'm better than Arteezy, because right here, if he has BKB, obviously the play just doesn't work. He'd be fine. But that's fine. That's why I've won TI and he hasn't. That, you know, there's a very clear difference between our skill sets, and it's fine. It's fine, but he has absolutely exploded here. I was talking about the combo without Sven. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. It's actually funny. That is exactly what it looks like. It's where he's in the front. He really can't frontline this game. I actually love the EG draft. It makes so much sense to me. I really do love it. I think it really does make so much sense to me. It's like, you pick Terrorblade, you buy Dragon Lance on Terrorblade, and then you pick 3 initiators, and then another stun. A stun with a break to make sure that like the annoying frontliners can't prevent your initiators from initiating on a good target. Really nice draft. I love this draft. I think it makes so much sense. But yeah, he's a feeder. Alright, that's going to be all for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed and you learned about Arteezy's items. If you did and you want me to do this with a support, never mind. There's no support to watch the video. Not support, like off lane or mid lane, you could let me know. But in all seriousness, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.